amendments. We need to be more on top of that than we were last year. If we'd have been more on top of it, I think that additional work would have been done, and that would have made some of those amendments that we came out against more palatable. So I think we should just internally figure out a way that we can participate. And I can reach out to Sherry if that's okay with you. Yeah, Mark?
Yeah, so my understanding is that subcommittee is working on putting a kind of a straw man approach together, similar to what the planning board's doing around conditional use permit.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to jump the gun between those two committees. I mean, what happened last year at the end of the year was kind of rushed. We know we have, why I forget his name, this is what happens when you get old, watch it.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, a consultant that's going to help as well, and we're looking to bring everybody together at some point. I'm not on that subcommittee, but I'm aware of it and I know what's going on. So yeah, so whether you get involved directly with that subcommittee or wait to the planning board and the subcommittee and come together with the conservation committee and have a joint meeting and bring it all together, but certainly the input is we know we need input from everybody.
Yeah, I feel like we need to be more engaged, just from the standpoint, even if it's reading the minutes, attending meetings periodically, even as a member of the audience, just to be aware of, because this one really caught us by surprise. As I said, and Jim said, and Sly said, and Michael said, we really thought it was much different.
Everybody wants to do a better job on it.
Well, we definitely want to do a better job on things too. So.
And the planning board, but also the people voted for all that stuff, which they were told not to, and they did. So there's a little statement from the community as well that's important to them. So we have to find the right balance.
Something came up in our meeting yesterday, and we've got, it ties in with what you just made, the comment you just made about making people aware that to vote no and all that. We've got to meet with Alex and come up with a policy with regard to communicating via Facebook, because as either appointed or elected members of the quote-unquote town, we were told pretty clearly yesterday that it's an absolute no-no for us to communicate on social media.
And that was the point I kind of brought forward a couple of minutes ago, right? Let's establish the guidelines. Because you are welcome to your opinion, but you have to do it in a way where you're not representing or even come across as well.
You're not even welcome to your opinion. So in the example of Sherry, I didn't see it, but I was told that she sent out something on Facebook encouraging people not to vote in favor. If I understood Alex correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I could have misunderstood it. She should not have done that. She created a record that now is subject to litigation. Should there be, and there will be litigation over the wetlands crossing. That's without question, it's going to bring litigation. And at the very least, abatement requests. And I'm somebody that's got a piece of land that was worth $80,000 and now it's not worth anything because I can't cross it without a variance. So there'll be people that will file for those types of things. And he made it very clear that we can't do it. And so we've got to communicate that to all of the committees and all of the boards, because there's a few people that are on those pages pretty repetitively. There's nothing to say that you can't write, hey, beautiful day on Wilson Pond, come down and go around on my pontoon boat. No issue with that. But if it has something to do with you.
I understand the guidelines.
Well, we didn't, or I didn't.
So just for clarification, who's Alex?
I'm sorry, Alex Torpe is the consultant that he's a representative of the firm that we hired as a consultant to help us in the interview process for a new town administrator.
All right.
He's actually filling in until we get one.
Yeah, he's
a couple of days a week.
Yeah, he's in the office on Mondays and Tuesdays, and he's available by phone if we need him.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, to your point, in working in corporate America, you don't say anything about the company you work for. You're a representative of the town, you're on a committee or on a board. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's really the same thing. It's not taught the same way, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, I've forgotten the name of do you remember the name of the lawsuit that he mentioned, so the case law that's behind it, so.
No, but there's also just real quick the issue of people responding. So if there's a quorum of respondents, then it's technically a meeting that wasn't posted, even though it's comments outside of what you would think you're all making them from your own home.
Sure.
Same as a phone call.
That's a good point. Doesn't take much to make a quorum.
Not in some cases.
You wanna make a motion on the minutes?
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah, I was just thinking. I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of regular meeting on March 4th.
You're able to second.
Second.
And then you just abstain. Yeah. Yeah, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for non-public 1 and 2, March 4th. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Same. Make a motion to approve the minutes for March 11th, regular meeting. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Thanks. All right, now you're back on. You're official now.
You can make a motion for the consent agenda.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public input.
I'm ready to give it to you.
I'm a little disappointed we don't have a bunch of people here. More people at these meetings.
Right, so I'll bring one thing up. So the Wilson Pond access, the town access off of Water's Edge, it's probably about as wide as the table. I was told over the winter that that was plowed not by the town, but it shouldn't be plowed by anybody, but by somebody, some residents or somebody in the area, and people were actually parking down there, which is something that just has never happened before. So I just want to bring that up. You might want to drive by and just look at the area. It's between the Snows residents and the Newtons. It's right where Water's Edge has a sharp 90-degree bend. And just take a look at it. It's typically used for people with kayaks or paddle boats, lugging them down from the neighborhood. It might be advisable if something like this continues that we put up some kind of a gate or something, or steel gate that could be locked with town access should they need it in case of emergency, but it's really not.
So what happened, somebody plowed it?
Yeah, somebody, I was told it was plowed a couple times, and,
Because there's a few strips like that.
well, that's the primary one. The other one is between two private properties, and that's always in dispute, so,
Is that where Delibra is?
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
that's-
Well, actually, the judge in that case ruled that they had the ability to utilize that as setback.
The homeowner?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say it's utilized, it's filled with kids' toys on purpose. And.
But it's town-owned land, so.
It is town owned land, yeah.
All right, well, we should, yeah.
Can I ask?
Okay.
So, if I'm looking at the beach part, and I'm standing at the beach looking into the water, is this opening around the left side or the right side?
And first of all, there's no beach.
Well, all right, where the people
The
fish
boat
from.
launch on the other side of the pond.
The boat launch.
Oh, okay, because I don't know.
So if
where
you're
we're-
looking from the boat launch area, which is the area where you're saying,
Yeah,
and you look out at the island, the first island.
the island, yeah.
Right? It's kind of just behind the island to the right,
When you access from the street behind there,
from Water's Edge.
and that we own that opening, the town does.
That we own.
And what you're saying is that it's, in the wintertime, the snow just goes there, no one opens it up, but somebody went in there and opened it up.
It's just grass, it's
Just
only
grass.
made for walking. So
Oh, I
it's
see.
somebody to plow and even park down there just isn't right.
I don't think we have a policy, really, I don't think we've ever addressed it.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up, so just to make you aware of it.
someday, I don't even know what we're talking, I never
No,
noticed it.
I'll give you a tour someday.
Yeah, I'd like to go see that.
Reach
Come
out
off
to
of
me.
Wilson Pond Road, onto Water's Edge, just go straight.
Okay,
Can't miss it, it's right in front of you.
yeah,
If you make the right, you've gone too far.
yeah.
I've forgotten, is it 25 feet wide or 15 feet wide?
Oh
Do you know?
my gosh, I think it's, it's hard to say where the property line is because there is vegetation. A lot of knotweed there and stuff. I would say, I don't wanna say, but I don't think it's, probably 15 feet there. It might be 15 feet.
So I go out onto 12, then take the street, across some sands,
But
to get to the other side.
Yeah, if you're going off of 12
Yeah,
onto pasture, just go straight.
Right.
yeah,
And
That turns
you'll
into
turn into
water's
Water's Edge,
yeah,
and then before you make the corner, it'll be on your right-hand
I
side.
gotcha.
Ask the ex-policeman, he knows it all.
Okay, anything else on that? All right, would it be beneficial to clear the knotweed and open that up? I mean, it would be, it's there for public access, so.
Yeah, I mean, there is public access. It's always better to get rid of knotweed because it is an invasive plant, so.
It's just how do you get rid of it?
I know.
Do you want me to talk to Joe about it and see if we look at it?
You have to cut it, you have to smother it, and you have to keep it smothered for years.
Just mow it every day.
You can do that.
It's amazing how fast it grows, though,
It's incredible.
because I used to have,
I'll go down and look at it first, and then maybe I'll take it right over with Joe, and we'll see. Okay, all right. You good with that?
all right. Next item on our agenda is follow-up from town meeting.
From, like, what do we have to say about voting and all that? I was a little disappointed about the water, but it looks like our next step is, our main concern will be the fire department, right?
Right. Well, our primary concern.
There's a lot of people are gonna ask about that, so as selectmen, what is our part, I guess, to ask?
Most of it is handled through Alex
Okay.
at this point. So what we have going on is Joe DeRusso is going to formalize curb cuts next week and peel up the pavement. Katie Sutherland, who's the architect, is going to provide us either by the end of this week or the beginning of next week with a schedule of when her drawings will be available. And she'll also give us a budget, which we would have to approve. And along with that, we need to reach out, and we'll have Alex do it, reach out to Fieldstone for land use consultants, because they were engaged initially with regard to site work, and they need to provide a drainage plan
It's 50 feet.
and other engineering work that would be part of the overall package. So what we're trying to do is expedite the process. And Katie actually called me on my way home yesterday after our meeting, and she said that she was targeting a late summer, early fall build cycle. I told her we were trying to expedite that and get it as soon as we can. So she'll let us know what her schedule will be.
When you say what the budget is, do we vote on what the budget is? What do you mean by that? What would consist
Her
of?
budget, because,
Oh, just the current budget?
yeah,
Oh, I see, okay.
her proposed budget.
I got you.
And she did say that because of the work that the committee did, they've already prepared more detailed drawings than they might otherwise have done, which should help.
Save some money.
Well, that and time.
Okay.
I think the biggest issue is the tariffs. I don't know if you all agree, but I think
I totally agree.
that's gonna be,
You know, again, off again tariffs, right?
yeah,
Lumber out of Canada?
that's where it all comes from. So, it's gonna be difficult for people to bid.
So maybe we buy our lumber fast.
Well, I've talked with a couple of contractors, and that's what they've said, but you're talking 10 or 15% tariffs, a 250% tariff that's a whole different ballgame. So that's why we're kind of hoping that this can move a little quicker than late summer or
Maybe
early
we can
fall.
beat the wave.
Beat the wave. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
that's on that one. The
surplus of lumber if the tariffs go away.
Yeah, that's true. We could, it depends on when.
Yeah.
And then we have to go with, Steve Biddle will be involved in this, along with Teresa and Alex, but they'll work with bond counsel to formalize that as we get further along. I think the next one, do you know, Megan, I think the next one is June? Okay, so it won't be for a while, anyway.
Okay.
Now, the water company.
Yeah.
So with the water company, I did communicate with Dan Brown, who had come and spoken to us a few months ago, and let him know, he already knew, but let him know formally. So it's been communicated to Underwood Engineering, and it's been communicated to the USDA that we're not applying for the loan. So it's up to you guys whether you think we should start the process to be prepared in 2 years, should the opportunity be there. Personally, I think we should, but we don't know if the company will be available, but I think it will be very beneficial to them if they know that we're working towards that. They really want to sell it to the town, and their piece is just a minor piece.
Yeah, I was afraid bottle company doesn't come around and say, you know, we're gonna scoff it up, and they take the money and run, and
Sure.
then we're out.
Number out.
But what about the TIF? Will we still do the TIF?
The TIF is in place.
That's gonna be in place, so we'll be saving money in those 2 years, if, we don't know, but
Yeah.
the TIF is gonna be in place.
Mhm.
I'm all for moving forward to keep it in the circle of what we need to be at, you know? I think we should do whatever you think, Bill, and keep it moving, and let them know we're still interested. And we'll work hard for the 2-year plan.
Okay, do you guys want to think of some names that we can put together?
For a committee?
Put a committee together,
I will do that.
all right? The other piece, of course, would be the funding. So
We know, because now we lost 40%, right?
we lost to 6.4, 40% forgivable.
So that would be a job for the committee to try to figure out how we're gonna fund it and things like that.
It would be that, and we still have Jean Shaheen, who's been a supporter historically. We still have her through the end of next year. And then obviously there'll be a new senator. We can't do anything until 27, but her term is gonna end, and we need to have funding in place by then in order to be able to move forward for the town warrant in the beginning of 27. So she and her team, Pam Slack, can be very instrumental in helping us. Maggie Hassan still has 4 years to go, so we should be reaching out to her. Maggie Goodlander just got started, so we should be reaching out to her and utilizing whatever connections we have to keep those channels open and see what we can do. Our new town administrator can communicate regionally with USDA and the Northern Borders group, Steve Fortier or somebody that we can reach out to. He could come, he did, I don't know if you were here at the meeting, but he did come with George Hansel. This was before you were elected, because Steve was the interim director for MEDC, Monadnock Economic Development Corporation. And so he and George came. He's very familiar with Swansea. He was with a representative of USDA last summer, and Michael took him on a tour of the projects that we have going on, and then they went off to Keene to look at some projects there. So we have a good connection with Steve Fortier. We have a good connection with Cody Morrison at Monadnock Economic Development Corporation. So we're gonna have to incorporate them and anybody else we can think of.
Good.
So
So our first goal is, we'll go out, we'll search for some people that would like to join the committee to research and do some homework on working to go forward with the water, right?
yeah, I think the biggest challenge we're gonna have is that we don't want them to lose perspective, because it's a 2-year project. But, yeah,
Would you suggest that we do this and we wait a little while, let the dust settle, and then we bring it up, or do you wanna go right at it?
I think that's up to you guys to think about and
Okay,
figure out.
all right.
Should we do like Alex suggested and have, like, put it out there for people to nominate somebody else to be on the committee?
I think we do both, yeah. One of the things that Alex recommended was asking Bruce to suggest somebody that he thinks would be a good member of the committee. and then we would reach out to that person and let them know that Bruce thought very highly of them, and would they be interested, and if they're not, would they recommend somebody? And Bruce, maybe you'd be interested in being a part of it, so I didn't mean to single you out.
Yeah,
But the
Well, there's nobody
idea
else
is
here.
to build, I'm sorry?
there's nobody else here, so.
Yeah,
No, it's important, I think, to keep some continuity with what's already been done to what we hope will be done, right? I think, you know, what happened with the water company was, people didn't understand it, it wasn't marketed. You know, if you went to the selectmen meetings and budget meetings and this and that, you understood it, you know, whether you went to or read the minutes or listened to them. But if you didn't do any of that, it was just a big price tag, so.
I think what we each individually acknowledged, Mark did it in public, Jim's done it in public, and if we had an opportunity one-on-one, we could turn somebody. But how do we communicate that message? That's always been our biggest challenge, is how do you communicate the message when people don't participate? So there's another committee that we're gonna talk about that might address that. But I truly believe if we'd had town meeting, we would have bought it, no question about it.
How many people come to the town meeting? 30?
Doesn't matter, if we, all we had to get was 20 of the 30.
If you
So-
know you can make a difference in a town meeting and vote, you're gonna see the town meeting's gonna be much more full than a deliberative session.
Yeah,
I definitely feel the town meeting's much more important. I do.
yeah, the deliberative really restricts the body's
Absolutely.
opportunity. It didn't back in the day. I don't
That's
know.
what I hear.
Well, no, when we first had deliberative sessions, there could be a motion to literally remove all of the language except for the words "to see." So when you got to the ballot, you'd see an article number 10, "to see." Doesn't say what, it just was "to see." And then they eliminated that so that you could modify it, but you couldn't change the subject. Whereas at a town meeting, if we've got an $8 million budget, somebody could propose $5 million, and if the town meeting approves it, the town meeting approves it. Then we scramble to figure out what the heck we're gonna do, like Convale's doing. But I agree with Jim. I think if we used to have 5, 6, well, you were here a lot more, longer than me. It was a big social event back in the day.
Fill up a whole auditorium with people.
Oh, the gymnasium?
Gymnasium, yep.
Yeah, it was a gymnasium.
Yeah, I remember going to the
Get it
auditorium
back.
was, the school, I remember going to the gymnasium and the town, and then I remember going to the auditorium for the town. I remember we'd go up on stage, and you had a ballot, and you'd vote for the offices. And if you voted early enough, then you participated. If you voted too late, some of the warrant articles had already been discussed. And then I can remember people trying to get streetlights over at Eastfield Crossing, and you'd hear out of the back, "Go back to Connecticut," you know, or something like that. And of course, it get overwhelmingly knocked down, as it should, because if you wanted streetlights, you needed to buy where there are streetlights as opposed to getting them put in. But I've heard stories, I think Mark shared them, where they'd have a debate, they'd go off and have a ham and bean supper and then come back and finish if they needed to. It was, Richmond still does it. I remember when I was, before we had calls, because cell phone service didn't work down in Richmond, and of going down around 9:30 or 10 o'clock to get their results for the school. They're still going with their town meeting. It would go to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So,
That's the way to do it, though.
yeah.
Bring people, diverse people together, and they come, walk away with a decision.
Yeah.
It's like the Tip O'Neill days, right?
Hey, tip and Ron. Argue like hell and then go to a nice Irish bar. All right, so you guys will think of some names, and then,
So, for that,
yeah.
now that we're on the town meeting, are we gonna start thinking about putting names together for that too?
Yeah, so one of the committees that we just talked a little bit about yesterday was establishing a committee that would look at overall town governance. Board of Selectmen, town manager, town administrator, going to a charter, going to town meeting. And I'd like to think that we would handle it in the same way that we did with the fire station committee, which was basically give them a charge and then stay away. We didn't tell the fire station committee to locate it where they did. We just said, we need to pass this. And it was a freewheeling committee that that put a plan together that the town approved. Then the only thing that I think we would just want to pose is the possibility of looking at town meeting. So they could come back and say, yeah, we think it's a great idea, or no, we think it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, as long as,
But-
like the town, like the fire station committee, you give them the mandate and guidelines that they need it, and see where it takes you. And-
Yeah.
And it's up to them to bring you in for clarity if needed, and, you know, have touch points, and,
I think if we start that sooner rather than later, there won't be the feeling of pressure that some of the committee members felt when they first were engaged. Because I know they really wanted this to be on next year's ballot, and we wanted it on this year's ballot, and they did it. They did a
well, no
great job.
longer on EDAC, we'll let them guide you a little bit. And I'm an alternate on the trustees of trust fund, so a little bit of time,
You're not on EDAC?
no.
Just-
I had a very short term, and leave it at that.
Yep.
I said I'd be willing to join in the future if the dynamics of the committee changes.
Mhm.
That's probably a fair statement.
So are either one of you interested in either of these two committees?
No,
Not at the present time, yeah.
No?
I'm not sure.
All right.
Yeah, look,
Well, we might get somebody,
no,
so
I
we,
have to be fair. I'm probably away 3 months a year at this point. So, and so,
yeah, that's, I appreciate that.
yeah, I have to be fair in that regard. You know, I mean, even with, you know, the selectmen is going to 5, right? You know, would I want to do that? I would love to do that. It wouldn't be fair. I'm trying to get Jay to do it.
He can be persuaded.
Billy, let me ask you something. So we talked about volunteers and people in committee. Is this something maybe we could try to post and get it out there that we're looking for volunteers, and get a group and say, this is what we're looking for? Remember we said we're gonna put it out there to the town and maybe see if we can gather anybody that wants to volunteer and sign up, a sign-up sheet? Or did I misunderstand that?
No, I think that's what
Well,
you
yeah.
said was to put it out there for people to volunteer.
Yeah, that they could sign up.
Right.
Maybe we have a sign-up sheet at the town hall, and we let it sit there for a while, and then we can contact those people to get us started and rolling. We won't say, you know, what it's for, we just volunteers to join committees. And then maybe if a big group comes, we bring them here in front of us and say, this is what we're looking for, who would like to go here? And then we, at least we get the ball rolling, I'm saying, it might be a suggestion. I'm just suggesting that idea. Get it started, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, we say, you know, you go to the town hall and sign up, and then we let it prove for a little while. We get 14, 10 people, whatever, and then we bring them in, and we say, we're looking for this committee, and we need you guys to go out now and search for more, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay. We,
No, I agree.
All right.
So I'll tell you right now with the water company, you know, where they're out trying to get funding, this and that, and how you're gonna move forward. That's a difficult thing for somebody to sign on to without having some knowledge in that area.
we might find people with a little knowledge that will be the chair of that.
That would be great.
Then that's what we're gonna, that's what me and Mike are gonna go out scouting, like Bill S. says, we're gonna go out and scout for 'em. We're gonna listen to people, I know a lot of people that come in the restaurant that I'll grab and see if I can get them involved.
You might-
But that being said, I was thinking that it, like, say I scope somebody out that could be really good, I wanna be able to say, what I need you to do now is go to the town hall and put your name on that volunteer list until we get back to you, and build that. Do you know what I mean? I want somewhere where they can be directed to, and then Mark would do the same. And we build that list, and then we have a nice meeting with us three, and you can speak to the volunteers,
We can.
yeah?
Megan, do we have a way to do that online, where people could just go online and sign up?
I think that's what Alex was talking about, so I can connect with him or with Katrina and find out how that's done.
It's already done on the uncovered too, when the uncovered, Swansea uncovered comes out.
Yep.
There's always a note in there for different sections.
That's true.
When does that come out?
It comes out quarterly, I believe.
Yeah, quarterly, we have 2 of them in print and 2 of them are online.
There's an opportunity right there we
Yeah.
gotta grab. Do you know what month it comes out, like when's it due to come out next?
It just came out, so,
Probably April or May,
yeah.
So is there a person who's in charge of the uncovered, who's that?
town administrator.
Is that right?
We might skip
See,
a
that's-
cycle.
Yeah, we'll have to skip a cycle, we can't put that, right, it's gonna be much more important things for the town administrator, Ryan, than putting them on that.
Unless Megan wants to pick it up. She's becoming the catch-all.
But Alex might have an avenue we can go with that, because he did briefly talk about it, maybe we should let Megan talk to him and see what, he really go a little farther with that.
Sure. Did you catch that?
Yes.
All right, so is there anything else from the town meeting agenda?
Well, those are the two main things for me, Billy, and one of the other ones I don't think we're ready to talk about for a little while, but we will probably bring it up. It's the 5 selectmen I was disappointed with. I'm against it. I feel that it's not gonna be good for Swansea. I really still feel strongly about getting it out there, that, and talking to people about it. I just don't feel comfortable letting it rest, personally. And as a selectman, I think when the dust settles, I'd like to come out and go against it again. And I don't know what the procedure is or how we can do it, but if everybody here feels that way, Mark, if you feel
I
that way.
voted no on it as well, I didn't want to.
Okay, so I mean, if there's 3 of us here, I mean, I don't know if we could, and I'm not saying right away, Bill, but maybe in a couple of months or so, we could bring it up, put it back on the table and.
Well, I think it's something that if we're successful in putting a group together to just look at overall town governance, that could be something they could
There you go.
look at as well.
Yeah.
And then we just have to do a warrant article in 2027.
2026.
We could do it next year.
Well, to take it off, but yeah, that'd be,
Yeah.
so
Then it would come up in
If that's-
they'd be
27.
voted in 2025, the other two.
2026, yeah.
Right, and then,
Yeah, it
Then there would be a
enforced in
process to
27.
eliminate 2.
right.
Then we have to, and you know, I know there's a lot to do, but I feel strongly that it's not gonna be good. And you know, because I don't think there was enough put into it. I think it was a vote that was thrown out there, a petition that was thrown out there. I don't think the people in town and everybody that voted had enough knowledge about it. And I think it was a vote that could be understood better before you made that decision to the taxpayers of Swansea. So I just feel that I would like to bring it back up, Bill.
Well,
Okay?
you are right now.
Okay.
Right, but again, I think that's something that if we're successful putting a committee together,
Good.
that they could
So
consider
that's
as
the
part
avenue
of
we'll
it.
take. We'll work on committees first, right?
Mhm.
So that's our direction, right?
Well, can we?
Volunteers and
Yeah.
we're developing some committees. So far now, we've got 3 things.
Right.
Water, that,
Governance,
and what?
governance, overall governance.
That's right, yeah. Okay,
All right. We have a proposed agreement for fire mutual aid that's been negotiated, and we're asking to authorize the town administrator and the fire chief to sign the extension of the agreement. Is there any concern about that?
It's an ongoing thing, right, they've been doing it for, yeah, I don't,
Yeah, it's, you'd know better than I
Yeah,
would how many years
yeah,
we're all dependent on mutual aid.
right, this is the one south of, it's not southwest New Hampshire, it's the state south of us, so.
okay. I don't have nothing to add to that.
All right, you wanna make a motion to authorize the town
I make a
administrator?
motion that we authorize the town to sign.
And I'll second that, Bill.
Okay, so we're authorizing the town administrator, in this case Alex, and the fire chief to sign a 3-year agreement to retain membership in the Tri-State Fire Mutual Aid Agreement. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any old business? I would like to talk about a proposed. Oh, okay. I'd like to ask you guys to take in what we discussed yesterday with Alex, and then come back next week from the standpoint of establishing goals for what we'd like to see this coming year, and maybe go out 5 years, if if you think that's appropriate. If you think it needs to go out 10 years, go out 10 years. Our CIP goes out 6. So we could go back together and collaborate on some goals that we could give ourselves, and then direct the town administrator to let the department heads know if you guys are okay with that.
And these are goals that we would like to see the town, for the town to growing in all, everywhere,
Whatever.
whatever projects and anything that we
Yeah.
have.
You could,
And you would like to have that ready for the next
for next week
meeting?
if we can.
So that will go on the agenda that we're gonna discuss, goals for the future.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Amen, I love it. I think it's a great idea.
You think that, all right?
Yeah, good idea, Bill.
Okay. All right. I wish I could take credit for it.
So some of those goals might.
Well,
not
you
be-
could have took it, cause I had no idea where it came from, so I'm gonna give you the credit.
All right, I appreciate it.
You got it.
So some of those goals might end up in the master plan type of thing, those type of things?
I don't think so. Well, I'll tell you what I've said about the master plan ever since I've been on zoning board.
But can I just say one thing before you do that? So the master plan gets developed, and then it typically just sits on a shelf somewhere and doesn't get.
Did you read my mind? Did you know what I was gonna say?
And that's not the right thing to do with a master plan. It's the same thing.
I agree with you.
It's the same thing with a corporate charter, right? It becomes like your, I don't want to say Bible, but your, the light that you're working towards, right? So anyway, go ahead.
I don't know, but you're preaching, I was just gonna say, it gets done, everybody's happy, it goes up on the shelf, and they forget about it for another, well, I think this time was almost 15 years before it was redone. I guess it's every 5 years it's supposed to be. There are some towns that I presented in front of where their criteria, whether it's zoning or planning, but I've usually gone for zoning, they've added it. You can't add it on the variance side, but you can add it on the special exception side, where does it fit the master plan? Now, whether they read their master plan or not, I don't know. But it seems to me that the master plan gets used when it's to somebody's advantage. And otherwise, it's just, I totally agree with you,
It's
Mark.
human nature though, in itself, right?
Well,
We're talking about development, master plan.
no.
No.
Mark is asking the question, but in our case, we spend money and it literally goes on the shelf. It truly does, and I agree with you.
Okay,
We should be paying more attention to it.
so maybe that committee is looking at town government.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we would have to have some guidelines to a certain degree, but at the same time, I think it would be more like the fire station committee, where we just have at it. Who knows what they're gonna dig up? Just because we've done everything the same way for 75 years doesn't mean that it needs to continue. And the master plan has always been one for me. Back when Sarah Carbonell was here, I'd just laugh at her because we couldn't use it. We could not use it as a zoning board
Right.
because we don't have the responsibility or the direction to use it.
Incorporate it into the town ordinances. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, into zoning, yeah.
So another that I'd like to discuss is I'd like to move our meetings upstairs. And the main reason for moving them upstairs would be if we can get buy-in from the zoning and the planning board, then we'll reduce the wear and tear down here, we'll reduce the setup and tear down, but it would also give us the opportunity, as you mentioned, to look at getting an AV system upstairs where people could hear us, because the common complaint I get is that people can't hear us, members of the public, whatever. And we'd be able to invest in a system that would give us that opportunity. And I was in front of Keene's Finance Committee last week, and their room is about as long as our upstairs room, narrower, but where the audience sits, there's 2 screens, one on either side. And so as an audience member, you're looking out at the, in this case, Finance Committee, which is all arrayed in front of you, about 25, 30 feet away. But if you're in the audience, you see them on the screen. You also don't have to raise your voice. You're talking into a microphone. The individual members are talking into microphones. Nobody talks over each other. All gets recorded, and it's certainly better received. And we've made a lot of progress, but we could maybe take it a little bit further. And I also also would like to start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, which many boards do, and we just haven't for whatever reason, but I appreciate your support in doing that. And then something we had done 8 years ago, I think, was we took the show on the road. So every quarter or every 3 months, we would meet in a different location. Back then, we were meeting at Town Hall. So we came over here for a meeting. We went to East Swanzey Community House. We went to the Recycling Center. We went to the airport. And the idea was that people that lived in those neighborhoods might be more inclined to come out. And in the beginning, we got that. Our first meeting, the one we did at Eastfield, or the East Swanzey Community Center, we had almost 20 people that showed up. It was pretty amazing. We thought we had really struck gold with this one. And then by the time we did the recycling one, yeah, it went way down.
Let's try it again.
So, okay,
I'm in. I like that.
all right.
I think it's awesome. Change is gonna be good. People feel the change. It gives a breath of fresh air. Like, wow,
Sure.
what a second. And we want people to hear that, feel that breath of fresh air, you know? We have a new town administrator, we have 2 new selectmen, you know? Maybe we can get more people involved and use that,
It would be great.
right? Not saying anything bad about the past or nothing, but changes, people like to see, sometimes
Sure.
see changes. Nothing bad, you know? But, you know, just like, this is a new thing. People like new. I'm good, I like that, I like that. Great, fantastic.
I'm good.
So when you're talking about upgrades, I
Sure.
was in Costco on Monday, and they have chairs similar to these, that have real padding on them for $19.99. I know Jimmy was supposed to look at his restaurant.
Should've grabbed
catalog
yourself one.
Well,
and get some chairs. I think
He's
you
been
include
ragging on
the
me
amount
about these chairs
spent on
since I met him.
chairs. You can get 100 chairs for $2,000, maybe even less if you buy bulk, who knows?
well, we can go to the Grange, and they've got wood slat chairs there that we can get for nothing. We can, actually, it came up, well, I forgot, one of these guys mentioned it yesterday, of having, I don't want to say better accommodations, but better seating for people that took the time to come. These, by the way, are not,
No, we're not.
we might get 20 minutes more than you
Yeah,
get, but that's
it.
about it.
But you get, once you hit an hour, you're like, oh, why am I sitting here?
Right. That's why we encourage participation.
So yeah, I'm getting to my get off my butt point.
Okay, so we can do that. We can think about where we want to go. And I forgot, we also had one at Richardson Park. I forgot about that one. Is there any place on Wilson Pond other than the airport? We could use the college, but we have to
After
pay
the
for
college
that.
camp, I can reach out to Misty Kennedy and see if that's something I can do. She probably wears a fee, she wears a fee for that.
Okay, yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah. But when you're in the middle of doing it, then I reach out then.
Okay,
Probably more on the off-season would be easier for her.
sure. What would their off-season be?
Anything between Labor Day and Memorial Day.
Oh, their off-season is then?
Yeah. They have a lot of stuff happening in the summer.
Okay, yeah.
I
Oh,
don't
no,
think
I
we
got
got
it.
heat in there.
I hear you, yeah, I got you.
I don't know if there's heat in there. I think there must be, there's kitchen and running water.
Somebody lives upstairs too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great, Mark, 'cause we could do it September or October next year. All right, so we did that. Administrative update. Okay, that's my list.
Did you approve the consent agenda?
Yes, we
Sorry,
did.
I missed that, okay.
So we got no administrator, so what do we do with the update? Megan?
Megan, yeah, she said there's no update.
Okay.
All right,
Pretty good.
I have 2 minutes.
okay. There's, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I think you gave us some direction tonight of where we wanna go, which we needed to know what we're gonna do. And I like the idea of the Katrina,
In what way?
and finding the place, making sure we can use it, scheduling the meeting, administrator,
Yeah, with the town
trying
administrator.
to do that.
Yeah.
They would just let us know the meeting's gonna be held at the airport on such and such.
Yeah,
So we're gonna give that duty to the new town administrator.
yeah, or we can figure it out.
Well,
We'll just-
what I'm gonna suggest is that we should do that because, oh, well, could be a local person, so they do know locations.
Mhm.
I was just thinking, how would they know locations?
What we would do is just let them know where we wanna go, and then they would set it up.
Okay, I got you. Because I think that's a great idea. Because I really want to push more people to our meetings.
Mhm.
I really want to get people involved, you know. I'm going to fight for that. I talk to everybody and tell them, come to our meetings, come on, at least watch, you know.
Sure.
And I think the upgrading of this system has to be done. Because all I hear is, yeah, I watch it, but you can't hear it, they lose, they can't hear who's talking or what's being said. And then they try it, but then they won't go back, you know? And I think if we do that upgrade, we gotta get it out there that we get it, listen in,
Sure.
Because there's a lot of people that would, remember when he told us, look at the employees alone that watch our meetings, right? I think these are important things that you brought up tonight.
Good.
Good.
Are they gonna be on the same day and same time as your normal scheduled meetings?
Depends. So, when we met at Richardson Park, it would have to be same as what Mark is talking about. It's gonna have to be in the off-season, and we could do it on a Saturday. There's nothing that says we have to do a Wednesday evening meeting.
What is the notice
We
on
could
that?
discuss it.
How
What is
much
the
notice
notice?
do you have to
It's the
give?
same as what we normally do, but I think if we,
And what is that? The
it
actual-
goes out 24 hours in
24
advance,
hours.
but if we were gonna be on the road, then we would want to announce that ahead of schedule
Right,
to give as many people an opportunity.
correct.
You know, I was thinking if it is at the camp, if they are acceptance of it, it could be outside in the pavilion, you can just use the picnic tables, and that way there's no setup tear down for the camp itself. And they might be more likely to sign on to that.
We did, that's a good idea. We did that at the the Lane Fields on South Road years ago.
Right.
And that was a well attended, of course, it had to do with the contract and all that, but there were quite a few people that showed up for
Yeah,
that.
that might be, might be more acceptable to them.
Okay, that's a good idea.
How many can you fit on your houseboat?
You know, it depends on the weight.
Always got an answer. All right, April meeting schedule.
Okay.
Is there any reason not to meet each week next month?
Every day, every Wednesday of April, you want to meet. Well, I think it's important because everything is new to it, we are allowed to get in line,
And
right?
we don't have a town administrator yet.
Right, so I think it's kind of important we see each other and keep up to date with everything. But we're gonna be pretty busy with interviews too, right? And I hear, we haven't got the official dates yet on that, right?
Not that I'm aware of. We've been asked to keep Monday and Tuesday open from 2 to 5, but that's,
Right.
That's
So
next
that's
Friday.
gonna take us some time too, so. I mean, there's no way we can incorporate some of these interviews with non-public after meetings now. Okay,
no, you won't want to.
you wouldn't want to, okay. Just a
Focus is
suggestion, I
challenging.
didn't know if we could tighten up how many times we have to meet, that's all. That's all right,
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
We might be able to when we get down to the final, one or two,
Okay,
but the initial interviews, no.
okay,
Because there's potentially 5 in one day,
I get you.
depending on how it gets laid out. But
Alright.
there'll be at least 3 on one day.
There's 3 on Monday and 2 on Tuesday.
Yeah, so that
There
would
you
be.
go, we already got it.
But if we were to meet starting at 7:30, when our meetings typically are over between 7 and 7:30, and then you got 3, we'd be here.
Okay,
It'd be tough.
so I am understanding that we'll put my Monday aside and my Tuesday, right?
From 2 to
I
5.
can tell you right now.
I think some of them are on the calendar.
Huh?
I think some Mondays and Tuesdays are on the calendar.
Monday, the first one starts at 2. You have 2, 3, and 4. And then, this is the second round. Are you coming in the second round, I think? Yeah?
Yep.
And then Tuesday is 2 and 4.
Say Monday again, 2,
3 and 4.
2, 3, and 4. And then Tuesday is 2 and 4. 2 and 4?
One of them couldn't do 3.
I know. What are we gonna do? You feeding us Chinese food or something in the middle of this?
Here, I can make you lunch from dinner.
Something.
Three.
Tempestuous catering. No.
Conflict of interest.
I had dinner there last night with my brother, and they took such good care of me, and they didn't even know. That wasn't him, I'm talking about the waitress. She really did. I had the best kind of beef.
Tasha's good.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of you how much you weighed on that, but that was a big plate of food.
It was a big plate of food.
He had a plate of food that was like this, and he went home with a little box. I thought I was gonna drop him like an oak tree, and you know, after
It was-
a quarter of it. I didn't think, I thought this was like 4 meals to him, you know, frugal guy over here. He'd make another dinner, I'd make an omelet out of it the
You're not
next
doing him
morning.
any favors, so.
That's right.
I figured he'd make an omelet out of it the next morning.
If I hadn't taken that big salad, it would have been gone.
Oh, God, Billy.
It was.
But I had the
it was very
privilege of
good.
meeting your brother, which is,
Yeah.
you could see you were brothers, and he's a nice man, very gentleman, a nice gentleman.
So,
I enjoyed that
He
meeting.
took the lead.
so you go into non-public, I guess, but second round of input for public,
I do have one other thing, I just wanted to just,
is it at the fire station?
no,
Okay.
that, I don't know what Bruce, if you know, Mark, I think you know, that in the interim, in between having an actual town administrator and the fact that Alex is only here twice a week, that we had assigned each of the selectmen to two departments, and we don't run the departments, we just act as liaisons. So during the course of the week, we're supposed to just reach out to them. Like today, I went to town hall and just asked anybody if they had anything they wanted me to present at the meeting. So, so Mark is gonna take recreation and recycling, and our anticipation is this will be in place through the hiring of the town administrator. And if the town administrator wants us to continue for a short period of time, we would do that. But we don't wanna create any chain of command issues. But for now, it's just to make sure that those departments have access where they would normally call Michael. They can reach out to us. So I didn't know if you knew that, Bruce.
I think you're probably doing that. So you have an anticipated date of when you have a new town administrator in place?
My estimate would be best case, beginning of May. We took an aggressive schedule with regard to the interviewing process and the selection process. When we had 2 consulting groups, they both anticipated that they would have candidates all in place by June with maybe a July start. And we pushed back on that and indicated we needed it sooner than that. So I think there were 18 applicants. I don't know that any of us know who they are. I don't know who they are. I don't think Jim does or Mark does. And we asked specifically that we not be told, just in case. And out of the 18, Megan and Alex interviewed all 18 via Zoom. And out of the 18, they selected 5 to meet with us. And so we have, and Jim participated in that at the end. They originally had 4 with 3 maybes, and then Jim was asked if he could take a look at the maybes, and this occurred at our last meeting. And so he went in and met with Megan and Alex the next day, and they added a 5th person. So 3 of them are Monday, 2 of them are Tuesday. Our expectation is that we'll make a final selection the following week. And then the reason I'm saying May is that Michael gave us 30 days notice. When we hired Michael, I think he gave 60 days notice to Francistown. And we had an administrator at the time, so there was right. Now we don't have one. So be hopeful that it wouldn't be any more than 30 days, but if the right candidate needs 60, the right candidate needs 60.
Sure.
But the background checks are going much quicker now than they used to. They used to take a month, and now they're a week or less. So hopefully be in shape by the beginning of May.
We will find somebody as good as Michael.
Oh, well, well, Bruce would know, because his wife was involved
That's a lot of
back
years.
when Michael came in, and Michael really impressed on his second interview, but there was a learning curve. And the Michael that left was not the Michael that came in.
Well, he was a town administrator prior to coming here.
He was.
It was a much smaller town.
Yeah, there was he and I think one other person. And the reason he wanted to wait a little bit extra was they had oh gosh, what was the grant? LCHIP grant for $250,000 that was coming in to Francistown, and he wanted to make sure that he was a part of that process to ensure there were no hiccups. And they did get the grant, and obviously that's something you want to support. But yeah, I think he had a one or two person department. And
There's a learning curve in that,
yeah.
this would be good for different towns.
But let's hope you're right. And I'm hopeful that we can get 5 or 6 years out of the new person. 10 was
good.
extraordinary.
Bill, could we go back to, the duties of the three selectmen, splitting that up? I just want to be more clear, because you never mentioned me. First, am I with Joe and Joe?
I'm sorry, so Jim has DPW, Joe DeRusso, and Police, Joe Gonsalves, and then I've been working with Town Hall and Fire Department.
And these departments are aware of this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we did do that, all of them.
Yep.
And this is just gonna relieve the town administrator from, they have a place to go instead of the town administrator for now, until we get one. That's the reason behind this whole
If
thing.
Alex is available.
I just want it
that's-
clearly out there why we
Yeah.
decided on this, and because it's basically, we don't have a town administrator that they can go and say, hey, so they can come and they can say, hey, I need this addressed, and then we can bring it to the other
bring
two
it to the
selectmen,
board.
and we say, we need to discuss this. And even on the other end of the spectrum too, if you have something that you wanna relay, do you call me and say, Jimmy, we need to relay this? Is that how it works? To Joe DeRusso or something?
No, we try to stay out of it as much as we can.
Right.
But the one, yes, Jim's referring to something that I did yesterday. I had a report from someone that lived on Perry Lane, that the Perry Lane sign was down. So I texted him.
I saw that.
I texted him a message asking if he would reach out to DPW just to let him know that it was down, and I just unfortunately misspelled sign.
He spelled it S-O-G-N, right? You know all these acronyms that they do, so I'm like, what the hell is S-O-G-N? And now I didn't want to be stupid, so I'm looking at it, well, what could that be? And I'm trying to guess, was it? So finally I said, I called Michael, Michael, well, he's driving to work. I said, Michael, what the hell is S-O-G-N? Bill texted me that it's down. And Michael goes, read me the whole thing. So I read him the whole thing, and he goes, Jimmy, he starts laughing, he goes, Jimmy, I think he misspelled sign. And I go, son of a bitch.
Should've just asked your granddaughter or your kids.
Yeah. But no, that's a true story, but that's what I meant. And I just want to be, send the message very clear about what we're doing, right? Okay.
It's a delicate balance, because we can't communicate back and forth with each other.
Right.
Otherwise it creates a quorum.
Yep.
So we try to do everything we can through Alex,
Somebody, yes.
through him. But in this case, Alex wasn't available, and so but there was obviously there was no response because he didn't know what I was asking.
But I did take care of it.
Yeah.
But cool, I just want, so we're all on the same page on this, because it is delicate.
So the point I was.
Another shot at the apple, Bruce.
Nope.
No?
I'm doing good.
Hey, thanks for
I
coming.
put my name in on the SIP committee again, so.
Oh, great.
A what, committee?
Couple
Capital
Oh,
improvements.
Oh.
So that's why I thought we were gonna be discussing that tonight.
Well,
So you're re-upping?
Yeah, I already, I signed the paper, so. it's
Who's
gonna
somebody
be-
on that committee?
It's gonna be, how many are on it?
Yeah,
It's more a question of
Right
how
now,
many show up.
yeah, 4, I think.
well, I'm on it now, I guess.
Well, you're the representative from the town.
Right. So I just sit
Yeah.
there and
For
listen.
whatever that's worth,
So I just sit there and listen to you, Bruce?
you can try that. I don't have that much to offer.
It's
Steve
all
is
right,
the one that
Bruce.
does it all.
Yeah.
So there's you and Michael, well, you and Steve,
Yeah.
Michael and
and,
Larry,
Who's Michael?
Michael York.
York. He's the planning board representative.
Steve Biddle, Michael York, Bruce.
And then
Larry Crowder,
Larry Crowder.
and then Pat Ambrosio.
She hasn't been to a meeting.
He did
She didn't
sign
come
up.
all last year, that I know.
No, but he did sign up to ask to be on it this year, so
Yeah.
maybe he'll have more time.
And I think at my anniversary, he was compounded with Michael, Brandley, and Joe, because Joe recommended him, Teresa, and they jumped on him, because they all sat together,
Yeah.
and they were all saying, if you're gonna be on, you're gonna show up, so I think we might see a change in that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very, very critical
it
committee.
is.
It truly is. And before, we didn't have one.
I've mentioned it to a couple of people to see if we can get them to come on, but it'd be nice if they would take an interest in it. We'll see.
I think it's gonna be fun to be.
Well,
on.
let Alex know, and he can reach out to them and let them know they've been nominated.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
thanks a lot, Bruce.
So I shared an idea with Jay about disbanding the fire station advisory committee. I think he shared that idea with you or discussed it with you. I'm just wondering if that's something that's gonna move forward.
Yeah, I need to figure out, I forgot when he told me he's on vacation.
I think next week would work. I think is what he told me,
Okay,
so.
all right, so I'm glad you brought it up, because I had asked him for April 2nd, and I just didn't remember whether it was the 26th or the 2nd that he said he was.
I know he's around next
What are we
week.
talking about?
What they'd like to do is to bring the committee in and have an official disbanding, but also a show of appreciation for all the work the committee did.
And that's an opportunity for them to move into another subject, because they did so good. Let's take that opportunity.
So do you think it would be better to do it next week or the 9th?
I think next week.
Next week?
I don't know Jay's schedule, but, spoke with him today. I'll probably get together with him sometime next week.
Okay.
Now
Then we'll,
Now his wife's retired, I'm looking for game nights during the week, not on the weekends. So,
all right, so we'll put that on our agenda for next week. And we'll send out, he did send me a list of email addresses, so.
be a good thing.
Thank you, Mike.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Yeah.
All right, so we have two non-publics,
Both C.
both C.
So, Mark, you gotta make a motion.
Make a motion, we're going to public session 91C.
Yeah. And all right,
91C.
that's,
Oh, yeah, I didn't say 91.
sorry, you just said C. That's okay, it's good. He's a quick study.
Fancy, huh?
Yeah.
Making me look bad.
No, nobody can do that.
I'll second that.
It's because of your leadership and you broke the ice. Makes it, all right, Megan, you want to call the roll?
Tempesta.
Aye.
Howard.
Me.
Hello.
All right, Garrett, thanks very much.
Shut it down. So now we're officially non-public on the C.